Good morning, afternoon or evening. My name is Manolita, and in this presentation I'll be looking at the creative storytelling skills I developed over the course of this last term. The two films I'll be looking at are All the Time in the World and A Picture from a Dream. So let's get into it. This film is set in an alternate reality where a company called Mortex sold a drug under the name of Mortaline. Its effects are supposed to eradicate depression and anxiety within people. However, misuse of the drug can be highly detrimental. In our film, we see what happens in that exact scenario. The restrictions put in place were that the film had to be a maximum of 3 minutes and that the element of world building had to be incorporated. I knew that I had to write an at least 3-page long script that had elements hinting at a greater world outside of the realm of the film. Along with only being able to use 6 lines of dialogue throughout the whole film, this made writing the script a lot trickier. Naming the film All the Time in the World was another of our restrictions. We had a few meetings outside of university premises where we spoke about ideas as a group. I took a bit from each idea and tried to factor it within the screenplay. This film was inspired by some stories from films that have already come out. The effects of misusing the drug were inspired from Darren Aronofsky's film Mother. The idea of the main character, Deli Influx, stalking people out the window through his camera came from the Hitchcock classic Rear Window, which is one of my personal favourite films. We were using an actor that was a minority, therefore it was our goal not to be inconsiderate and create a caricature out of them. For that reason, we treated them with utmost respect. We treated the way they delivered lines the same way we would with anyone else. This film was designed to have a 3-act structure. We introduced the characters in the first, Deli and Jane, had a conflict between the two characters in the second, showed the consequences of Deli at the end in the third.
You are under arrest for the misuse of our product, Mortaline. Say hello to All the Time in the World.
Being the screenwriter, my role was highly instrumental in how the story was told in the film. This is because I'm the one who put everyone's ideas together in a cohesive story with characters and plot. Here's proof of some of the ideas that we came up with in advance. In order to improve the delivery of the story, I tried implementing the Chekhov's gun theory. This was done by having a standout Asian character bump into Jane near the beginning of the film, wearing an abstract all-black leather outfit to create more mystery around him. Then, at the end, he is at the door to arrest Deli, wearing Jane's outfit, making his reveal more surprising and powerful. The element of mystery was induced within the film really well. One example would be when Deli is taking photographs of Jane in the beginning. It pushes the question, why would he do that? Where will this lead in the story? Something that didn't go too well was the fact that because we were on a time crunch with the location we were using, there were certain parts of the script that we didn't film, therefore making the story confusing at points. Something that we'll do differently next time is to check that if makeup is used, that it's adequate for the shoot. Otherwise, we're better off not using it. Something else would be to get used to the shooting location before actual shoot day, and to prepare the exact scenes and shots that will be filmed in advance, rather than on a day as we did for this project. Overall, I think the film had elements that were truly compelling and that were shot nicely. However, this was counteracted by some poorly acted scenes that were not shot with as much craft.
I love the way that top fits. It squeezes onto you.
I now know that the same amount of effort and focus has to be put onto each scene that we shoot. Although I wasn't necessarily happy with the final product, I still feel like my storytelling skills improved massively with this project. Writing the script made me more aware of the importance of having a strong story and following it when put into practice. Our target audience was young adults. I tried to engage them by implementing the idea of drug consumption, something that many young adults have and are still experiencing themselves. The film could have definitely been more engaging from a cultural standpoint, especially because we had the possibility to do it. In the script, the company selling the drug was Japanese, and therefore we hired an Asian actor to interpret the agent working for the company, tying everything in a lot more coherently. However, we did not portray that through the shots we filmed. All in all, I enjoyed the experience of creating the idea of a world through my screenplay, and the shooting experience was fun as always. However, I believe that there were too many loose ends in our final product. At the same time, I know that we weren't far off reaching our vision, we just needed more discipline as a whole group, which is something that we can learn from. The second film we made in this term was A Picture from a Dream. My role was to produce this whole picture. I overlooked everything that was going on. I subsequently was in charge of finding actors, shooting locations, and scheduling. This film was about a young introverted adult whose dreams had a connection to the things happening in his day-to-day life. His dream girl, aka the girl from his dreams, winds up dead, and he's framed for it. There weren't many restrictions for this film. All we had to consider was using elements of conventional storytelling and to keep it under 5 minutes. Pretty straightforward, right? We all came forward with a story and voted on which we'd like to proceed in developing. This was the winner because we felt that it had the potential to fit the 5-minute model the best. Once again, this film was inspired by some existing stories. The film Lost Highway by David Lynch, a director that often incorporates the use of dreams within his films. The build up to the interrogation scene was specifically a big inspiration. Once again, there were some cultural considerations in this film. We used multiple actors that are part of a minority. Just as before, we made sure to be sensitive and respectful with the way we present them on screen. Out of the 7 basic story plots, the one which we incorporated the best was tragedy. Tragedy is shown in this film when our protagonist is framed for the murder of his dream girl. As a producer, I impacted the visual look of the film through my choice of actors. Their performances impacted the feel of the film, whether for the better or worse. In order to improve the delivery of the story, I did practice readings with the actors in preparation for the film.
He look at it like suspicious.
Yeah. And because he's so introverted and stuff and sees this woman as being more powerful than him, he's scared to even say anything, kind of just like he sees her and like, yeah.
So you don't really do it.
Yeah.
This made their performances better and therefore the delivery of the story more believable in most cases. The performance given by the actress playing the antagonist was well received. Her character was believable, which is as much as we could have asked from her for a project like this. However, there were issues that came with the performances we received from our actors. One example would be the interrogator character. We had to cut all his lines out because of overacting.
Where were you on Thursday afternoon?
Also, the voiceover delivered by the main actor was quite weak.
Fixated in isolation of reoccurrence, I can't seem to perceive that.
Next time, I'd like to be more meticulous with my choice in actors and not just pick someone for the sake of not remaining actorless. This is because through their performances, they can make or break the film. Overall, I was quite happy with the outcome of this project. I think that we had a variety of elements that worked in our favour as far as making the story intriguing. However, I feel like we failed in making a conventional piece as it ended up being highly interpretive to the individual watching. I once again believe that my storytelling ability improved through the making of this film. I got a better understanding of the pre-production things that have to be done in order to achieve a well-crafted piece. It's not all about the script, but also the execution on all levels, and that's something I learned as a producer. Our target audience for this piece was people that experience paying rent and living on their own. This is because they would heavily relate to the protagonist that goes through the same things. We used minorities for the protagonist and antagonist of the film. I think that in itself is quite engaging culturally. As this was our final film of the year, I'm not completely satisfied with the final piece. I wish the performances and links from scene to scene would have been stronger. However, there are many aspects of this film that showed my group and I that we have the potential to create a truly compelling piece as long as we refine our mistakes. All in all, it was a good experience, but I feel like we could have done better.